Welcome, everyone, to the Full Dash Closure audiobook and podcast, a special edition here on Saturday night live. And glad you're tuning in. There's been a lot going on in the last couple days, and I thought it would be good to bring this to light, give you a heads up about how quickly scams can unravel. And I think you know by now that I consider DoorDash to be like the other gamblified, gamified gig apps, a fraud based upon corporate AI. And well, we've got more proof than ever. I would say the cards are starting to fall. So let's kind of take a step back a little bit about maybe the last year of developments and how we got to this point. Um, as the pandemic took hold, businesses like DoorDash and Grubhub and Uber Eats and the ride sharing businesses like Uber and Lyft gained a prominence and a business opportunity that they never would have had otherwise. And because there was so much disarray and there was a large pool of people that uh, wanted to work yet couldn't work in traditional jobs, there were a large group of people who wanted certain things and couldn't get out as they normally do because of the pandemic. So the what's called the gig economy rose during this time into prominence for a couple different reasons. One, to meet the needs of the pandemic, which involved much more outside assistance for food or restaurants or products from merchants than had been required previously. Because previously, in the history of man, 99% of retailers and 85% of restaurants in the United States did not have any delivery. So delivery has never been and is not now a key element of the restaurant business. And one of the things that I think both the gig economy uh, laborers, or what are called the gig economy laborers, I've turned them app slaves because there's no independence whatsoever, and they are in fact slaves of the application, which is directing their every move in our physical world through a simulation in a computer AI system. So that's scary stuff. So first of all, one of the parts of this, what DoorDash's Tony Hsu calls a three-sided marketplace. Um, That's probably our first clue as I sketched that out on paper that DoorDash is a scam because a three-sided marketplace only exists in a simulation, right? The three-sided marketplace that DoorDash set up is a three-sided marketplace that is siloed. So it's truly a triangle. There's nothing in the middle. There's three sides, and three sides are just kind of dotted line connected to each other, but they don't really have any interaction. And DoorDash is just orchestrating that chaos, right? So you've got the restaurants in their restaurant point of purchase systems. So DoorDash is providing financing and even infrastructure and point of sale systems to these merchants in order to get them involved in this rigged market simulation that they're in. And as the restaurants use that, they're paying a huge fee to do that. Your typical restaurant plans for DoorDash are 15%, 25%, and 30% on the restaurant side commission. And national retailers or national restaurateurs, I should say, get a better deal, of course. So the competition is slanted to put your local businesses out of business from the beginning because McDonald's is paying 11.9 or 12.5%, somewhere in that range, based upon their national contractual deal. And the other major restaurateurs are doing the same thing. Chipotle is getting some kind of preferred rate. Red Robin's getting some kind of preferred rate, and on down the line. Now, your local restaurateur is not getting a preferred rate. They're paying this full advertising rate, kind of akin to the old Yellow Pages scam that put so many small businesses out of business in the days of yore. It was always said, maybe some of you remember that, you had to be in the Yellow Pages, and you had to be up near the front. That was the thing. And so everybody was competing to get near the front of the Yellow Pages, because even though the Yellow Pages was selling you the Yellow Pages, they were telling you that only the first pages of every category were the valuable ones. Isn't that cool? The way they kind of pumped up their own market to convince you. And I had some clients that owed tens of thousands of dollars, or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, to companies that did the Yellow Pages, and those companies were involved in a lot of lawsuits because they did essentially predatory lending. They would finance the advertising for these small businesses in the Yellow Pages, and then the business would not uptick enough to cover that cost of advertising in the expensive Yellow Pages. And what would happen? The business would financially fail. That's exactly what's happening here. This is a well-run path. That's exactly what's happening here with DoorDash, and the gig economy as well. So how is that working for a restaurant? Well, restaurants can't afford to pay 15 to 25 to 30% of their gross sale to a company that's doing nothing but having somebody deliver the food. It's not, they don't benefit from it. So every meal that they sell through DoorDash, most restaurateurs would tell you, is probably a meal that they sell at no profit or even a loss. So why would they do that? Why would they do that? Well, they were convinced during a time of unprecedented, during our lifetime emergency, that you had to. And they signed these contracts that made no sense over the long term, but seemed to make sense in the short term. And now this monster came to being, and a lot of them have gone out of business once their PPP money and obligations dried up. They shut the doors. There's been a huge spate of closed restaurants lately, and make no mistake about it, part of that is the gig economy, right? When people are patronizing their local restaurants through the gig economy, they're putting their local restaurants out of business. I've had a general manager of a big pizza place that was in one of my areas for a long time, told me that the only thing that the gig economy and DoorDash does for them is it keeps their volume up, so they keep people working, but they make no money off it. So it's really a waste of time, but they kind of see it as a necessary evil. Necessary evils are interesting things, aren't they? Or, kind of like lesser evils. If it's evil, why do you want it as either, lesser or more or necessary? So, and that's kind of the point here, is that the gig economy is about as evil as any business scheme that's ever been created in the history of humanity, and that's not an understatement. So, from the restaurant perspective, if you're a local restaurateur or a local merchant, you're now roped into some kind of expectation with certain types of customers that delivery is available, and you can get coerced into doing that. Now, a lot of retailers or restaurateurs, their volume of gig economy business is not as high as it used to be, or is going down, or is not terribly significant. So maybe some of them aren't really worried anymore if they're only selling a couple meals a day. As one of the restaurateurs that I consulted with did, they're not really that worried about it if a couple meals go out without profitability. And is it advertising? I don't know. But it's also competition, because every restaurant that is on DoorDash or in the market, they have their own websites as well, where local customers can buy directly on the website from the restaurant. The restaurant gets 100% of the money, and they have to drive by and pick it up themselves. That costs the customer much, much less because on the customer side, one of these other sides of this three-sided marketplace that DoorDash has invented into the world of a gamified, rigged uh, gig app game is the consumer food side. And so the consumer food application has a very specific view of the world, and that's the view of the world that DoorDash gives each of us individually. The DoorDash application has that customer isolated in a DoorDash world where it's presenting restaurants, some of whom physically exist and some of whom only exist in a branding capacity in the DoorDash app as another theoretical meal option for customers to choose from. And of course, what that's doing is polluting the marketplace. So if there's two real hamburger restaurants and three fake DoorDash, uh, scammer restaurants, then when a consumer goes on there to look, now you've got maybe a 2 out of 5 chance they're going to buy the hamburger from you instead of a 2 out of 2 chance they're going to buy a hamburger from you. And so your chances of, as an individual retailer, of getting an order from DoorDash actually go down when you go on their app because you're going to get a computer AI served up selection of burger options, which are not burger restaurants in the real world. So, see how this is so very confusing about what this actually is that we're dealing with? Are we dealing with real restaurants? Are we dealing with real brands? Are we dealing with a real marketplace? Well, okay, so the food customers are getting dynamic pricing. I may buy my meal and get it delivered at a different rate than my next door neighbor because DoorDash's computer AI is maximizing and exploiting consumers just like it does uh, app slaves, or what DoorDash calls dashers. So that's second side of the marketplace. Let's look at this third side of the marketplace. And the third side of the marketplace, I think, is the most interesting because it's the fuel that makes this go. Hi, Kvass Residue. It's great to see you in here. I appreciate you showing up. We're talking about now the third side of the three-sided simulated marketplace of DoorDash, and that third side being the dashers. So, what are dashers? Well, dashers are not uh, employees. Dashers are not any part of the gig economy companies in any way, shape, or form. And that is by very intensively planned purpose. So the gig economy was created to destroy employment, to destroy all of the workers' rights and safety and equity issues that had been fought for since the Industrial Revolution and the unions. And what DoorDash has done by creating the gig economy along with these other members of what I call the corporate gig economy cabal is they've created a new paradigm that exists without laws. There are no laws that have ever been created as case law for AI, right? So this is now in lower courts, this is in the states, this is all over the place because people are figuring out this is a god awful scam. This is the worst scam ever run on humanity, and it's being done by a very few very evil companies uh, like DoorDash, Uber, Lyft, and then they have some other competitors in individual nations around the world. DoorDash in particular is in 27 nations. By acquiring Volt app out of Finland during the pandemic in 2020, DoorDash jumped from 4 nations to 27. So in 27 nations, DoorDash is now attempting to perform what I call app colonization. So they're going to have, through the magic of computer of corporate AI, workers all over the world slaving for them while they take a percentage of the gross revenue that's produced by all of that economic activity. That's insane. That is one hell of a scam. I mean, and the scope of it, because it's always off the gross activity, is amazing. So let's take an example. So if you bought uh, $1 of food on DoorDash, food brand food on DoorDash, that $1 of food, by the time it's delivered to you, is probably going to be, a dollar and 30 cents. Okay, so you're maybe paying 30% more than the prices that you would have paid if you bought that food directly. Now, out of that uh $1, DoorDash is going to take out, let's say 25%. They're going to take out 25% from the restaurant. So the restaurant, instead of making $1 of gross revenue, is now making 75 cents of gross revenue. DoorDash is taking that 25 cents. Now the consumer, instead of paying $1, is now paying $1.30. Now a little bit of that's going to go to the dasher because some of that is a tip, and some of that is in there as what they call a base pay, which is an amount that goes out for every order to a dasher on their app. So DoorDash is now going to take another, let's say, 20 cents out of that consumer. So if they're taking 25 cents out of that consumer, or out of that restaurant, 20 cents out of the consumer, you can see that out of a $1.30 transaction, DoorDash is taking, 42, 43 cents. So they're taking a major part. And from a restaurant's perspective, out of a dollar transaction, DoorDash is taking a revenue of a gross revenue of somewhere around 40, 42 cents. So that's an amazing amount of money, an unjustifiable amount of money, an untenable amount of money. It's amazing that anybody ever bought into this, but because this is new technology to humanity, people just didn't know what they were signing up for. And that's the commonality of the gig economy, is, or what they call the gig economy, is that it's deceptive. So back to this consumer, or I'm sorry, the dasher example here. So this dasher now plays no role in this other than picking up from point A, which is a restaurant, and delivering to point B. Other than that, DoorDash doesn't want to know they exist. They subtracted all of the activities of the tasks of dashers, who are called independent contractors, very falsely. It's a misuse of the definition of an independent contractor. They're not independent. So all of those dashers that are called independent contractors are are disavowed, unknown, and unlisted in anywhere in the DoorDash business. They're a technology company that wants to provide infrastructure for local marketplaces. In other words, they want to put a massive parasitic infrastructure tax on all of the economy across the planet, and they're getting away with it uh, to a large extent. So DoorDash is based on addiction. It's based on addiction for the app slaves that are using gamblified gig apps that don't have other options and are desperate. It's used to deceive consumers, to present them with choices and prices that are not fair. If it's algorithmic discrimination. So just because AI is discriminating between me and a woman who lives next door, doesn't make it any less unacceptable than if a human being was discriminating between me and a woman who lives next door. So you see how AI takes those intentions of the creators, who in this case are all corporations. They're all creating these corporate AI systems with one purpose, and that is to exploit labor, to hide the sources and uses of labor, which I call labor laundering, and then to basically start a precedent around the world that controlling humans by computer AI in simulations on smartphones is an okay thing to do. One of the biggest problems with this, and that kind of brings us to the point of tonight's special edition, is that the fooled uh, people in this scenario most impacted are the people called dashers because they're attempting to use this activity as income when in fact it's so deceptive that many of them will never make any money, might even lose money on the activity. And all of that risk of a corporation, all of the risk of time and inflation and car accidents and insurance and expenses and gas, all of those things, and the management of a vehicle to drive around, all of those things have been transferred from the back of corporations onto the back of impoverished uh, app slaves. So this is the most despicable transfer of risk and loss to impoverished workers that's ever been created. There's never been an opportunity to fleece humanity like was created with corporate AI. And the thing is, people know it. So what's happening is that legislators are attempting to piecemeal, maybe get a little bit of a handle on the rate of pay or some kind of fair work standards for the gig economy, but they're all losing because with black box AI, there's nothing. This is nailing Jello to a wall. There's nothing to get a grip on. This is a game. This is a moving target. This is something that it has a dual impossibility scenario. It cannot be understood, and even if it was understood, it could not be explained to anyone. So that is the output that people are trusting across this world to direct labor. Now, it doesn't just direct labor, though. It gaslights labor, it exploits labor, it terminates labor without cause. Computer AI now hires and fires. And with computer AI, there's no human responsible. So when gig app labor gets cut off from their application for any or no reason, they have no recourse. So, and some legislators have been trying to build systems for recourse, but the dirty little secret that nobody will tell you is that there's no way for these gig economy companies to handle the volume of recourse that's actually happening with human beings, because no human beings actually serve these dashers. They're pushed off to a third party independent contractor, mostly with computer AI response customer service and unempowered customer service, both for the consumer and for the dasher. So it's just chaos. It's just absolute chaos, which again is intentional because that chaos obfuscates all of the reality of this scenario in which a non-legitimate business is taking place. The key to understanding the gig economy is that it's the economy, stupid. There is no gig economy. That's the first lie. The gig economy is the regular economy. Every rideshare is a substitution for a cab or walking or a bike or a bus. It's a direct substitution. Transportation, human transportation, has been around in many forms for a long time. One form, just because it's in the gig economy, is not an innovation versus another. Same thing with package delivery. Uh, DoorDash, because they're predatory and because they're taking a huge percentage from all of this gross economic activity, wants everything to run through them, and so they're claiming credit for the sun rising in the morning and the moon rising at night. It's all about DoorDash because it's all under their purview, right? All of this is wrapped up in their gross revenue. But what's wrapped up in their gross revenue is everyone else being exploited. So there is no gig economy. There's only the economy. Any meal that is ordered from a restaurant through DoorDash would have been ordered at the restaurant for eat in, or a different restaurant, or eaten at home. Any meal eaten is a substitute for another meal eaten. One of the things that is truly ignored all around the gig economy is worker safety. Wow. I would be scared to drive an Uber or Lyft in Portland. The number of murders of cab drivers, of people getting attacked, people Uber and Lyft uh, drivers around the nation and even around the world have been attacked and killed. Taking people in your car is a whole nother level than last mile delivery, where you're picking up some kind of a retail item or some kind of a restaurant meal and delivering it to someone's home. Whole different animal. Nevertheless, last mile delivery is one of the most dangerous jobs in America, one of the top 10 most dangerous jobs. Amazon delivery drivers in 2022 were injured at a rate of 20% on the job. That's 21 out of every 5 Amazon drivers in 2022 was injured on the job. So if you apply that to however many millions of gig app laborers are around the US, you can imagine there are untold amounts of workplace injuries. There are untold amounts of accidents from distracted driving and uh, from just being involved in an activity that is roaming around the streets multiple hours a day, going in and out of parking lots, turning, parking, getting out, getting back in. This is a horribly dangerous activity. And because of that, it's not just a risk of injury or death. Because of that risk, the chances of you and your assets coming out of this ahead are not good. I earned money over doing 5,521 dashes, but I also during that time did about $8,000 of damage to my automobile. Uh, because using your automobile as a delivery vehicle is going to be using your automobile as a commercial vehicle, and you're going to kind of beat the shit out of it. That's what happens. And I was a person who never had any minor dents or fender benders or anything like that. I was a really careful driver, but I'm telling you, once you're out delivering, 20, 25 deliveries a day with multiple stops and retailers and consumers and driveways and everything else, I was playing bumper cars. It was ridiculous. Uh, it's so difficult to do that amount of activity in such a dangerous job and never have anything go wrong. Why do you think the gig economy wanted to give this special opportunity to laborers to take all their independence and all the risk along with it? Well, because it's the greatest thing ever to happen to a corporation, to get rid of the biggest problem ever, which is the people. There will never be any unions. There's never any way to organize. They're transient labor. You don't even know which company they're working for. A lot of these folks multi-app and use 2 or 3, 4 different apps in a day. So if someone was to get injured or killed, or injure or kill somebody else, which company were they working for at the time? Who's responsible? Nobody's responsible. When nobody's responsible, that's called a free rider, because society sucks it up. Society is responsible. When people are underpaid and enslaved, society picks up the burden, socially, politically, uh, economically. And this is a real problem. What we have is a different caste of human being established around the world with this different labor class, and it is a god awful trap. This is like being a garbage picker to get trapped in gig labor, because it's a race to the bottom. There is no value. It's where humans are ubiquitous, have no value, and all the gig economy wants is an endless supply, because as long as there's an endless supply, they can do anything they want with their market simulation. The only way to break their market simulation is if they lose their supply, because they control the supply and demand for dashers on the road at all times. That's key to controlling the market in every way, that market simulation. So nothing is independent. I've used the analogy before. It's like playing Mario Kart. You may be the Mario Kart world champion. You may be you may get rewards. You can talk to people around about it. You play the game and you're a winner. It doesn't mean you're doing it in real life, right? That's a simulation. You're not really a race car driver. And even though you're sitting in your living room and in real life, there's a physical you doing this stuff. That's like DoorDash. DoorDash, you're in a game world. Everything that happens to you is part of the game world. Even if it seems real, even if you're talking trash or looking at your kid who's playing you from the other side of the room, well, that's a real experience. It's still a simulation of a racing game. And so this kind of sums up where we are today, which is that the people doing this work, the labor, have been convinced that this is real. They've been fooled by this corporate AI and by this deception, which is very intentional. But the news is that is breaking. I'm going to share something with you here that's gonna probably blow your mind a little bit, um, because this blew my mind last night when I saw it. So I've had some extensive discussions or commentary with different gig app content creators. And I've never been a gig app content creator, and I don't intend to be, but I've been somewhat critical in my comments to them over time, because they seemed to be unable to learn about the scam that they're involved in, and unable to see what's before their very eyes. Now, it's very reasonable, one could assume, that uh, people can be uncritical of what's before their very eyes, especially if there's a monetary incentive involved that encourages them to do so. So somebody that's doing gig tubing may get revenue, or the more uh, long-standing and larger channels do make money off this. And so making money off YouTube and GigTube and other social media and even sponsorships becomes a bigger income opportunity than, of course, the gig economy in the first place. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. It's just another broadcasting opportunity, or another opportunity to talk to people, just like I'm doing right now with you. The problem comes in when it's dishonest. So I'm gonna play something for you here, and we'll see what happens. So when I told you that, I specifically asked you not to say nothing. Now you're going around saying I'm deceiving people and this and that. Like, who do you know who I told that to? I only told you that. I don't go around and fill you in who I tell and who I don't tell. You know what I mean? Like, what makes you think that, like, the shit that you're saying is fucking true? Like, that's fucked up, bro. What am I saying that's not true, Flex? Like, who do you know who I tell and I don't tell? I know. So, but what I'm trying to explain to you is that I'm not getting into the whole thing, and I don't. So, like I said, I don't know what to tell you, Flex. You feel a certain way, and you have a certain way of looking at it. I apologize that you feel offended or hurt. The fucked up thing is. Okay, so what are they talking about? Well, there's a dirty little secret that came out, and that's that the GigTube creators that have been out telling people about how much money they've been making and the opportunities of doing the DoorDash programs that they've been doing, called Top Dasher, have been sharing a backdoor to DoorDash through the Android app that allowed them to rig the Top Dasher system. And instead of being gaslighted and scammed by Top Dasher to accept money losing app slavery orders, they can skip that part and just get, quote, Top Dasher status by cheating. Well, that's kind of funny. It's funny for a number of reasons. Number one, cheating and scamming and theft is part of the entire world of the gig app, gig economy. It was created for deception. So consumers use it to deceive restaurants and DoorDash and get food for free, because there's many ways with DoorDash's lackluster support and lack of control and chaos to get free food. And so they do that all the time. They're constantly scamming DoorDash. But when hi Jake from State Farm. So the problem is, guess what happens when they scam DoorDash? Who do you think really pays? Well, who's holding all of the risk between a restaurant, DoorDash, a consumer, and the dasher? One of those four parties is holding all the risk, and it's the dasher. It's the one, the most impoverished, with the most work and the least money and the least status. They're holding all the risk. So when something goes wrong, or if somebody commits fraud, the assumption by the computer AI system is, well, get rid of that dasher, penalize the dasher, put a contract violation on the dasher. So it's very typical punitive system that you see with all types of low wage labor. So they put a punitive system in, and again, because there are no rules, there is no case law, there is no work protections, they can do anything. They can do anything. The only rule in the gig economy is there are no rules. That should terrify you. Why would you play with the corporate rule world with no rules? Enron had no rules. FTX had no rules. Bernie Madoff had no rules. Every scam in history has had no rules, and every scam in history was seen as legitimate before it fell apart. Well, here's why this one's going to fall apart, because this scam of what these folks were doing is fraud, right? And it's not just fraud to DoorDash. That would be interesting. But worse yet, it's fraud upon viewers who are being presented with programs from DoorDash as opportunities when in fact they're not. And so that's what I have been critical of many of these content creators, because they are deceptively and selectively providing information and providing it and telling people there's opportunity here. Now, when you tell desperate people there's opportunity and they take it and they lose, that's on you. When you sell yourself as Mr. Positivity, as somebody, the can-do attitude, and you're cheating the system to get your status and telling everybody else on your ride-alongs what your status is, wow, it's really disgusting on so many levels. So let's listen to a little bit more of this. I'm going to pull this up on the computer this time, because I want you to hear how nefarious this is. And these guys know they're doing wrong, right? So there's multiple different people involved in this scam. So let's pull this up here. Gonna share screen. Share the screen. What's this guy called? Connection. So this is from a channel called Cherry.
I went out of the way and I told you something so you could benefit off of it, and not in the way that you're doing it right now, because you're not benefiting off of it. You're basically ruining it for everybody. Because now you just got to wait for a patch for them to fucking do it.
Okay, so you see what they're saying is they're saying you're ruining this backdoor scam for everybody because they consider this a glitch for the back door so that DoorDash can do this. Now, that is certainly an explanation for it. What's a more likely explanation? The more likely explanation, and the explanation that I would assume to be true, because DoorDash does not sleep on the job. And I don't believe that glitches go into production. DoorDash made this backdoor for its gig content creators. It gave it to however it was developed. It was leaked out to different content creators like Mr. Flex, who you see right here. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know who that guy is. Don't care. It was leaked out to Pedro DoorDash Santiago. I'm told that Sin City Deliveries, that's out of Las Vegas, has a Discord channel where it was charging people money for this information. Uh, so this is really nefarious stuff, but that doesn't mean it's not in DoorDash's interest. It's in DoorDash's interest to have gig tubers misrepresent the opportunities to the public so that DoorDash can get more rubes to lose money. They're happy if Mr. Flex says he makes money. They're happy if Pedro says he makes money. They're happy if Sin City Deliveries says they make money and sells opportunity to other people. They're fine with all of that. Why wouldn't they be? They're making more money. They're making more money, more money, more money. But somebody's losing, and that somebody is always, always the labor. Let's listen to more of this disgusting conversation.
Okay, Flex, but and this is where we can't have this conversation. I understand you think that you told me, but I knew way before. And I'm not going to tell you, oh, this person can tell you and that person can tell you, because that starts.
So what they're arguing is who knew. So when something secret like this gets out, now it's like, well, who spilled the beans? Well, if I heard it from you and you spilled the beans, then they'll know it came from you. Well, so a whole bunch of different people knew this, and nobody knows quite who knew it first. But again, is this a glitch, or does this serve the purposes of DoorDash? You have to assume that a DoorDash, who runs a computer AI system that can make over 2 million predictions a second about what you're going to do next, doesn't have backdoor glitches for Mr. Flex, Pedro, and Sin City Deliveries and others like them that are unknown to the company, that only work on Android phones. This is not a likely scenario. The likely scenario is DoorDash made this backdoor specifically for this purpose, so that their lies about the amount of money and the amount of opportunity they provide will be perpetuated by app slaves themselves. And that's what I find so absolutely disgusting, is that these folks, I thought that they were honestly stupid, and they're dishonestly stupid. And that I guess I knew that. I guess I knew that because nobody can be that dense. But to find out that this was their little shared secret, and listen to them talking on this phone conversation. So this person, always cherry pick, is a gig tuber that's been around for a while, and is the person that made this video. I'm told that Cherry made another video the day before that was deleted, in which they leaked more details about this, including, I think, kind of the methodology of exactly how it's done. Not that particularly matters. We'll get into that too, but let's listen.
It's a whole clusterfuck. I knew it. I've known it, and people will say that I'm wrong, but the reason why that everybody... Go ahead, I apologize.
I'm not going to say anything like further in the future, bro. This helping him is not going to fucking help no more to nobody, bro. Because I don't trust nobody anymore. Just because of shit like this, bro. Like.
So when as parents, we tell our kids that lying has consequences, and dishonesty has consequences. This is what we're talking about. At some point the jig is up and it's not as fun anymore.
Like Bobby said, I told you something private. Now you're telling me you already knew. Like, bro, come on. Anyone could say that. Oh yeah, Flex. You know what? Great, thanks. I already knew that. I appreciate you.
This is why, Flex, that we can't go back and forth, because I'm not going to say that you were the first person to explain it to me, and you're not going to accept that that's the truth. So we're kind of at a standstill. Robert,
inform my friends and let them know, like, yo, help yourself. And I specifically tell everybody, don't say nothing. Don't bring it up. Don't talk about it on the stream. I don't want to hear it. The first thing I told you, what did you do, Cherry? You went out fucking taunting people. Oh, I know you're doing this. I know you're doing this. I got the proof. Bro, like, I didn't even say nothing, bro. I just kept my mouth shut. Like, Cherry's being fucking stupid. Like, come on, bro. Like,
okay, well, not to see. This is how we're going to go back and forth, Flex. But the first person to mention it was Pedro. He said, if y'all knew about the real glitch, none of this would matter. Ha ha ha.
Bro, but that was way after I fucking told you about it. That was way after, bro.
I never mentioned it on publicly to anybody until after that.
It doesn't matter. Like come on. Like the first thing I told you, you turn around and you start taunting people. Not necessarily me, but people you don't like. That's not cool, bro.
Not cool, bro. Not cool, bro. So, pretty interesting conversation, wouldn't you say? So this glitch, this is kind of how it works. You need an Android phone, and you basically log into the app, bring up the multitasking window, and click the app so it brings up the ability to force close it, and then force close it and shut the app down. But you wait for a text to come in with an order. And so once it does, you wait until the dash is paused and open your app. Your AR, your acceptance rate, goes up as if you accepted the order. In some cases, it won't if you're replacing an accepted order in your last 100. So there's some caveats. Then rinse and repeat. So you do this. So what they're doing is they're rigging their acceptance rate and lying to their viewers, saying that they're accepting all these orders that it takes to be a top dasher, which is a money losing proposition. You can't do it. Top dasher is a scam. Yet they're saying they're a top dasher because they're doing this and inviting other people to do that. So, I mean, absolutely blatant, fraudulent activity. The fact that they're hacking DoorDash, either with DoorDash's permission and collaboration or not, is immaterial. But again, there is no possible way that DoorDash doesn't know this is going on. DoorDash gets every bit of data from every phone that's connected to its network, and it knows this is going on. And it also watches all of these gig tubers with both social listening software, which captures every word that's chatted or mentioned about them on social media and YouTube and Facebook and newspapers and everything else, and chat boards and Reddit. So they're constantly taking the temperature of the audience, and then they're using these criminal stooges as salespeople for their app slavery scam. So this is the final piece of the puzzle, because these leaders of this community selling this lie have been propping up DoorDash and making the unbelievable somehow believable with their convincing act. And Flex admits, I love this. I love doing this stuff. I love riding around doing this stuff. Let's listen to a little bit more.
I kept my mouth shut. I didn't say nothing.
Okay, well, can I tell you that the glitch has been around since Sin City's been charging $40 for Discord?
I know it's been around. It's been around for like 2 fucking years.
Well, I've known about it for a year, Flex. So if we're
okay, so it's been around for 2 years. It's been around. Cherry's known about it for a year, and Sin City Delivery is allegedly got a Discord channel that rubes pay $40 for, so that they can get the methodology for this backdoor into DoorDash heaven. I still don't believe. I mean, when I've seen the numbers that Flex and these other guys produce, even with this cheat code, it's pathetic, right? This isn't enough money to survive doing this, but they're making enough off the rubes on YouTube selling this live that it's making up the difference. So I hope that this video contributes to screwing them all and putting them all out of their disgusting little lying business, because they're collaborating with the most evil company on the face of the planet, which is DoorDash. So let's listen a little bit more, and we'll be more convinced by this evil.
We're all saying we knew about it, and now we're admitting that we knew about it.
It's like we're watching the
Listen,
usual
whatever you
suspects.
did, you could have done that privately if you wanted to help people.
Mr. Pink, Mr. Cherry, Mr. Red. Why do I have to be Mr. Black?
Whatever you did, I don't know what was your intent of doing. I have no fucking idea. But all I know is when I told you, I specifically asked you not to say nothing to nobody and don't ever bring it up. And like, you know,
Well, Flex,
You learned that one of my favorite parts of the Steinbeck novel, The Winter of Our Discontent, which is one of my favorite books of all time, is when he talks about how to effectively do crime. You don't tell anybody, ever. You don't tell your wife. You don't tell your best friend. You don't tell yourself. You never, ever, 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 ever tell anybody. And obviously, these guys are not very good criminals because they tell too many people.
I understand that's what you wanted. I don't recall you saying it, but I'm not stupid. I understand I'm not supposed to run around and tell it. So that's how my compromise is going to be. I don't ever recall you. If I remember, you showed the text message where it said you sent me an acceptance screen and I didn't say anything. You said, I'll fill you in later. I didn't say, hey, I want that, because I already knew it. But yes, it was manipulating you to act like you and Light told me. It was manipulating you because I wanted to find out the source and the root so I could get back to Paige.
Oh, this is like spy versus spy. This is really great. There's no honor among thieves. There's no honor among thieves. There's actually, I mean, Cherry Pick is actually coming off pretty good in this. I think he's the stand-up guy that's calling bullshit on this. But there's no honor among thieves, man. I told you.
Pedro, but I already knew Pedro knew from Sin City, because
Whatever.
Sin City told Pedro months ago.
Whatever. You didn't know how it was done, did you? Did you know how it was done?
Yes. I'm not
But you
going to
didn't
go
tell
back
nobody.
and forth.
But you didn't tell nobody about it.
No, I did not.
But yeah, you're doing it.
No, I am not. I do it. I'm right now, my acceptance rate is under 50. No, I am not. I am currently not doing it. I am currently doing something else.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you fucking talking about the shit. When you know you shouldn't be talking about it. Whatever, bro. You know what, Cherry, do what you want to do, bro. You wanna re-put it up. It's so good, bro. I don't care.
No, I'm not re-putting it up, but what I'm trying to explain to you, Flex, is
So when they talk about putting it up, that's the video that he took down that I think first out of this. But obviously Cherry decided that he wasn't going to let that die. I got this tip from 3 or 4 different gig tubers that I know that all of this chaos was going on, and kind of tuned into it last night. I have regularly watched these folks for the last few years, so I know a lot of them very, very well in terms of what their message is and how they go about doing their gig tube broadcasting. Let's keep going.
I understand you're mad. I understand your point of view. You have a right to be mad. So what can I do other than say I took it down and that's the end of it?
You're basically telling me that whatever you told me, you already knew. So shut the fuck up about it and don't fucking tell me nothing else because I already knew about it. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah.
That's what you basically tell me.
I've known about it since September, and hundreds of
steps how it's done.
Dozens of people, yes, dozens of people on YouTube, Flex, have known about it.
Cherry, but hold on. But you didn't say nothing to me. That hey, hold on, Flex. I already knew about it. You know, this is how it's done. You never told me that.
All right. So I think we've kind of used up the kind of used up the benefit of this particular video. But you can see it's called the Gig Connection episode 6 from Always Cherry. If you want to see more of that. So here's my analogy to the gig economy. So see, that's my analogy to the gig economy. It said uh excuse me, the unprosecuted crimes and governmentally allowed fraud of DoorDash last mile delivery tasks evokes an insane game of mad bull driven chaos in which the exploited corporate AI run anonymous labor is app slaves. Dashers are clowns in the deadly predatory capitalist rodeo. So that's my description of what's happening with the gig economy, and I think they are like these rodeo clowns. Everybody's sitting in the audience, and dashers are just getting tossed around willy nilly in the air, and there's no consideration for their safety or their well-being or anything else, and there never will be. They're rodeo clowns. They're meant to be put in this position. So another broadcaster that has been around for a long time is called Dashing Trader, and I'm just going to show a moment of his information because he is jumping on, I would say, the very good bandwagon of telling the truth.
Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the wonderful world of food delivery apps. In specific, we're going to talk about DoorDash. With these apps, we have, incredible convenience when it comes to getting this food, working the apps, making a little extra money. But there's a dark side to all this, and we're going to talk about it today. In this video, we're going to be shedding light on the ugly truth about DoorDash, revealing some of the controversial practices drivers and restaurants have been facing. So without further ado, let's get right into it. But look, before we do that, hit that like and the subscribe button for your boy.
All right. So I did hit the like and subscribe button for our boy. I wanted you to show that and give Dashing Trader some credit because you did a good video there, and I would suggest you watch that video. He goes through from a driver's perspective a number of the scams that he knows about. This is a trend, right? This is a guy that's been doing this for a long time. A number of the others have been doing this for a long time, and the GigTube creators are starting to come out and say, this is fraud. This is a scam. This is how it works. This is what's happening with customers. This is how the system is going. And the big problem is that shit draws flies, right? A scam industry can draw nothing but scams from every aspect of its marketplace, whether that's scammers from restaurants doing scam kitchens or spam kitchens and ghost kitchens, whether it's consumers stealing food, whether it's dashers acting wonderfully or badly. Everybody is hurt by this system that has been created with data to be used against humans instead of for humans. So the gig economy is corporate AI created to be used against humanity to exploit humanity. So I'm going to wrap that up here. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight, and I hope that this kind of gives you some flavor of how corrupt every single part of this activity is, even the parts that look wholesome or human to the naked eye don't really happen that way at all. I shared the Who song. It all looks fine to the naked eye, but it don't really happen that way at all. And that's absolutely the truth for the gig economy. The gig economy is a lie. It's just the economy. And the gig economy is a way for DoorDash and the other perpetrators of the corporate gig economy cabal around the country are fleecing this planet and destroying the social structure, the economic structure, and the labor structure of every single nation that they're in. It's horrifying. And you're seeing that right here in the actions of individuals that realize there's only one way to play this game, and it's to cheat. Because it's rigged against you, right? This is like playing a slot machine. It's going to pay out at a certain rate, and that's a lesser rate than you're paying in. That's the way it works. The only rule is there are no rules except you lose. You always lose. So this has been the Full Dash Closure audiobook and podcast. And I want to thank you all for tuning in. Look forward to any comments and questions that you have. My name is Jeff Thomas Black. Good night.